Hello my young friends, how are you all today? This video is for Thursday, May 7th. If you don't already have your handbook out, you may want to get it and have it nearby, open to lesson 11. Alright, we're going to review something we talked about before, sentence types. There were 4 of them that we talked about, and the first one I'm going to mention is interrogative. Now, an interrogative sentence asks a question, right? Here's an example. Will you please close the door? Okay, and notice the punctuation that you have to use with an interrogative sentence. Right, question mark. Okay, the next kind of sentence we've talked about was a declarative sentence. A declarative sentence makes a statement. My cousin closed the door. And a declarative sentence always ends with a period. Then you have an exclamatory sentence which expresses strong feeling. Hurry, he's about to close the door. And an exclamatory sentence always ends with an exclamation mark. Exclamation mark. The last kind of sentence is called an imperative sentence, and it gives a command. Close the door. It ends in a period as well. I suppose this could end in an exclamation mark if you're saying it loudly. Okay, so let's do this. Let's look in the passage in Lesson 11 in your handbook, and I've printed it out here if you don't want to get to it in your book. But let's find an example of interrogative, declarative, and exclamatory sentences in this passage. Okay? Let's see. Let's look for question marks. Here we go. From now until tomorrow morning when you come to school again, will you do that? That's an interrogative sentence. Will you wonder why and wonder why? That's another one. Will you wonder why storks don't come to shore and build their nests on the roofs the way they do in the villages all around? That's another one. So there's 3 of them. Okay, notice they all have their question marks. Okay, do you see any declarative sentences? That's right, Ilka. That's a declarative sentence. Okay? And the last sentence is also a declarative sentence. For sometimes when we begin to wonder, we can make things begin to happen. All right. So, declarative sentences end with a period. Interrogative sentences end with a question mark. Exclamatory sentences end with an exclamation mark. Do we have one? Yes, we do. You see it? But we can wonder. Okay, exclamation. So that's an exclamatory. Okay, now here's what we're going to do. We're going to go back to the 3 interrogative sentences with the question marks, and we're going to change them to imperative sentences. Okay, so again, we have the sentence that says, from now on until tomorrow morning when you come to school again, will you do that? How would you change that to an imperative sentence? We're going to get rid of the will you part, for one thing. And we're going to get rid of the question mark. So let's say, from now until tomorrow morning, when you come to school again, do that. Okay, that's an imperative. It's giving a command. From now till tomorrow morning, do that. Okay, what about the next one? Will you wonder why and wonder why? Let's make it an imperative sentence. Get rid of the will you, capitalize the W, and it becomes wonder why and wonder why, period. No question mark, because we're changing it to imperative, which ends in a period. Okay, and the last one. Will you wonder why storks don't come to shore to build their nests on the roofs the way they do in all the villages around? Okay, we'll just get rid of the will you, because we're not asking a question, we're making it a command. Capitalize the wonder. Wonder why storks don't come to shore to build their nests on the roofs the way they do in all the villages around, period. Okay, that's just a command. It's the teacher telling the children what to do. So you see the difference between the interrogative sentences and the imperative sentences. All right, another thing I want to talk to you about is something called direct address. And a direct address is when you see in the passage here, let's see, right here. That's right, Elka, or Ilka. You can see that there's a comma here. Why is that? It's because this is a direct address, and whenever you use a person's name, you're speaking to a person, then you need to put a comma between the person's name and the rest of the sentence. That's called direct address, and we're going to look at some other examples of that now. All right, number 1, go to the kitchen, Nancy, and find my platter. When you have a direct address that's in the middle of the sentence, this is the person that is being spoken to, and there's part of the sentence before and part of the sentence after. You need to put a comma before the word Nancy and after the word Nancy to separate the noun of direct address from the rest of the sentence. Now, if you have a direct address in the beginning of a sentence, obviously we're not going to put a comma at the beginning, so you just put a comma here, which separates it from the rest of the sentence. Jack, please help me. And that is an imperative sentence. It's not saying, Jack, will you please help me? Then it would have to have a question mark. This is also an imperative. I'm not asking Nancy to go to the kitchen, telling Nancy, so it's an imperative. Number 3, you don't have to come, Tom. Now here you see that the noun of direct address is at the end of the sentence, so we place the comma here to separate it from the rest of the sentence. And then what if you're writing an email or a note to a friend? Hi, Rachel. Comma comes between your hi and your Rachel. Or hello, Dad, or whoever you're writing to, you should put a comma between the person's name and your greeting. And it was a pleasure to meet you, sir. Okay, even if it's not a person's name necessarily, like Nancy or Jack or Rachel, you're still going to put a comma because sir represents a certain person, and sir is just replacing what his name is. Okay. Now, here's a funny one. It's kind of ambiguous. Let's eat Grandpa. Now, I didn't put a comma here because I want you to see, if you say this without a comma, or if you wrote this without a comma, it looks like they're going to eat their grandpa for dinner. Let's eat Grandpa. So make sure, if that's not what you're intending, you put a comma there for your direct address. Let's eat Grandpa. That means telling Grandpa it's time to eat. So commas are important. You think they're boring and don't understand them, but they can be important to make sure you are understood. All right, there's another thing we want to talk about, and this is in your TAN book, and you can look in there or you can follow along with me, but it's called word analogies. And word analogies isn't something grammatical, but it's something to help you think and help you stretch your mind a little bit. A word analogy expresses a relationship between words. It's kind of almost like a game. So you have the word eyes and sight and ears and hearing. The way you say this analogy, analogies are always written with these colons. 1 colon between these 2 words, 2 colons to separate this group from this group, and then a colon between these 2. But the way this is read is, eyes are to sight as ears are to hearing. That's the way you read an analogy. Eyes are to sight as ears are to hearing. Okay? Eyes have a relationship with sight in that you need your eyes to see, just as ears have a relationship to hearing in that you need your ears to hear. Or your ears are what you hear with, your eyes are what you see with. So see what the relationship is. Now, analogies can be formed using lots of different kinds of words. One kind is the antonym. Antonyms are opposites, okay? So you could say good is to bad as happy is to sad. Okay? Good and bad are opposites, just like happy and sad are opposites. You can also use synonyms. Synonyms are words that mean the same thing. Yell is to shout. Yell is similar to shout, just like soaring is to flying. Okay? They mean the same thing. These mean the opposite because they're comparing antonyms. These mean the same. Then you can compare things that are parts of something. Fingers are to your hand, like toes are to your foot. Okay? Fingers are the appendages on a person's hand. Toes are the appendages on a person's foot. All right, it can compare function of something. Scissors are to cut, or scissors are used to cut, as a pencil is used to write. Correct. Okay, on the last couple, I'm going to cover up the end and see if you can figure out what they should be. All right. A car is to a garage as a bed is to what? A car goes inside of garage. A bed goes inside of what? A house. Or you could say a bedroom. Okay, we have mother is to daughter as father is to. Okay, we have the mother is the female parent to the female child. Father is the male parent to son, which is the male child. And then a grammar one. Couldn't resist and leave this out. A noun is to an adjective. Okay, how is a noun and an adjective related? Okay, a noun is described by an adjective, right? Okay, like a verb is to what? What describes a verb? An adverb. Yes. So noun is to adjective as verb is to adverb. So these are word analogies, and you'll have a couple of these to do in your workbook, just for a little brain exercise. Okay, so for the rest of your classwork today, you're going to complete exercise 3 on exercise D, for day 3, which is about direct address, and exercise C on day 4, which is about analogies. Okay, and your homework is going to be to write your corrected rough draft. You should have sent me your rough draft by now for your Rome paragraph, and I'll look over it as soon as I see it and send it back to you, and you can make any corrections or edits that need to be made and then send it right back to me. And then your last chapter in The Horse and His Boy. Last chapter, can you believe it? We're going to finish this book. It's chapter 15, so we'll have some more vocabulary words and some questions. And also, I want to add that when you're doing your questions, if you want to do something a little different, you can, after you're finished answering the questions from the reading, you can ask me a question, and it can be anything about the book. Don't make it too picky, but and then what I'll try to do is, if I get it before I make the video for Tuesday, I will try to find the answer and mention it on the video when we talk about it. Okay? All right, so I hope you guys have a great weekend, and I'll see you back here on Tuesday. Bye-bye.